ladies and gentlemen, this is James Steiner, and welcome back to Analogue. Hey, sorry, as you can probably tell, I have the camera in a different place. I'm hoping that this setup works a little bit better. It's a little more precarious, but I'm just hoping the camera doesn't fall the fuck over. Anyway, so we're just going to continue on where we left off. And let's see what the new message is about. Young Seok's wife. Dearest mother, finally I believe young Seok has grown comfortable with me. All it took was some time for me to earn his trust. Learning how to read by watching over my husband's shoulder isn't how I envisioned spending my first year of marriage. I can't complain about anything that makes me spend so much time with him, though. We've talked and decided we won't try for a son right away. Right now, he's just not ready for it. That aside, things are good. If this is what the married life is like, I think I can be happy with this. We're getting along well, and I like him. Perhaps it's not quite what I was led to expect, but it's still good. Domestic bliss indeed. Last week, young Seok was reading over some papers for a dispute that Magistrate Park was deciding on. You wouldn't understand the details, but it was essentially an argument between a farmer and his lord over a sum of money after a particularly poor harvest. I think I will tell the magistrate that the farmer is right. His claim is fair, he told me. Might I take a look? I asked. Bemused, he handed the papers to me. It took a good while of studying, just to be sure. After all, I wouldn't want to contradict my husband if he was right, but farmer's numbers didn't seem to add up. I pointed this out to him. He not only listened patiently, but had me explain. Then you believe the farmer is trying to cheat his lord? He asked. I did. That's what I will report then. The next day he told me that the magistrate agreed. And ever since then he has started to rely on my opinion when it comes to anything involving math. That is so sad. What do you have to say? To be totally honest with you, I don't really know what she's talking about here at all. The math thing wasn't really considered very odd at the time. That's women's work. It's just natural. Maybe it's a little weird that she's helping with external matters, but, well, it's not that weird. The part about learning to read isn't that amazing either. It might have been officially frowned upon, but learning to read by looking over her brother's or husband's shoulder was really, really common. She's making a big deal out of nothing. Well, I guess that's 15-year-old women for you. She was only 15? Ah. Now things are making a little bit more sense. What else do we have here to read? The new friendship. So after the new girl, it's the new friendship. Ooh, this is gonna get juicy, isn't it? And you've got something new to say. While it's true that I might be, as my wife suggests, alarmingly serious, it's hard to argue with enjoying a nice meal out of... It's hard to argue with enjoying a nice meal out if it means cultivating Magistrate Park's trust even more. Just having the invitation alone's a pretty good sign. I assumed we would be going to his house after finishing with the day's affairs, but instead he led the other way. Oh, you do not want to visit there. My son has a newborn child who is very, very unconducive? I do not know that word. And I've been going to college for 4 fucking years. I don't use that word a lot. Very unconducive? Unductive? Inducive? What the fuck ever. To entertaining guests, I'm afraid. He said with a laugh. Surely you'll understand. Instead, we headed to the plaza. Outside of the occasional New Year's festival, when I was a child, I had never actually been there before. I never had much of an eye for details at the time, so I was surprised to see now just how richly decorated everything was for what was essentially a giant market. Beautiful floral arrangements adorned every stall, wall, and partition, and rather than the commotion of a crowd, all I could hear was the sound of peaceful music. It was still, of course, a market. There were no merchants loudly hawking wares, and some of the prices on the signs I saw would make the emperor blush. In that atmosphere, we ate together at a public house that defied my expectations. The food was both plentiful and far better than anything I had ever had in either of my houses. Ugh, people like this make me shiver. Rich, entitled people. Ugh. If this sounds indulgent, it absolutely is, and I definitely don't plan on telling anyone the details like this. Okay. The only thing I plan to repeat from this evening is what the magistrate confided in me, that when he was moved from his position, he'd like to recommend me to fill his place. I'd be young for the position, but it would be a great stepping stone to the one I'm dreaming of. I remained calm, since I'm good at that, but it's the best news I've heard in my life. And the plaza sounds like a really interesting place, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really know personally, but as I understand it, it was the big place for celebrating festivals, and really surprising to see. You'd leave one of the few tiny modern stark white corridors that lead to it, then suddenly there was this huge open space filled with all sorts of colorful signs and vendors. I think proper gentlemen were supposed to be more modest, though, so they wouldn't really want to associate with that sort of thing too openly. Bit of useless information, but let's keep going through this. The new magistrate. You're not going to give me all the files, are you? So I'm going to have to go to the security AI at some point. Dearest Mother, if you haven't already heard the good news, my husband has been appointed by the Emperor to the position of magistrate. He's taken over the office from Magistrate Park starting today, which is just tremendous for a man his age. I have no doubt that he was perfectly humble when he got the news, since he certainly has been while talking about it in front of father-in-law. In private, though, it's another story. Earlier, the family held a small feast to celebrate the news, and he had the same attitude then, too. But afterwards, when everyone else had left or gone to bed, we stayed up to sit together drinking wine, and it was a whole lot more somber. He wasn't modest, but he was boastful. But he wasn't boastful either. He was just outright insecure. He might not say it in front of you, but you know what he said to me as I poured him more wine? He takes all the credit for my promotion. According to him, it's all because of the Emperor's perfect new bride, which is, of course, all because of him. I said quietly, I don't want to take credit for her. I wasn't the one who got her to shut up. That was all him. I don't like discussing it, and please, Mother, don't ever ask me why. Doesn't matter, he said. That's not why I got promoted. I got promoted because High Magistrate Park, and I managed to make Smith look so bad he had to get shuffled off. It's exposing the whoring and thuggery that did it, not the damned pale bride, he said with annoyance. Well, that's how he is, you know, he'll never give you credit for anything, I said. He replied, I know, I just wish he'd acknowledge it. I just don't know how he can be so stupid as to not be proud of me, you know? I know, I said, but let's not focus on that right now. I think we should focus on the good right now. How about we toast to your success instead? Here's to the new magistrate, Kim. I raised my glass and drank. He betrayed the faintest of smiles, but he didn't share my toast, and instead put down his glass. For a moment, I was worried, but then he used that hand to grab my chin instead, and for the first time ever, he kissed me on the mouth. Far sweeter than any wine, he said to me. I wasn't sure if he meant the kiss, or the success, but I agreed either way. You have no new comments. I don't believe you. That's how it always seems to go. It always comes back to me. I don't think Kim Jung-soo ever thought very much of his adopted son, or at least neither he nor his wife thought so. You want to know what I think, though? Yes. I think they're both really dumb. I mean, it's not like I ever did anything. It's not my fault. I just happened to be there and was married off as a political gesture. It's not even like I wanted to. What kind of person projects their insecurities onto someone who only ever just got pushed around? Sorry, I guess I'm getting a little bit off track here. That's not really very helpful, is it? It actually is, just ever so slightly helpful, but that still doesn't help me with the whole situation of the ship being bloody empty. The ship is empty. Well, anyway, getting back on track here. Yeah, let's find out what the fuck happened on this ship. I've finished all of Block 9. I think that's a good place to stop. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button, share, favorite, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. And hopefully, we will get some idea to what happened on this ship. Anyway, see you all later. Bye-bye!